The Gatekeepers return. It began with a whisper, barely audible, like the wind moving through the hollow cracks of an ancient stone. No one knew where it came from, but those who heard it claimed the sound was not natural. It was as though the earth itself was speaking, summoning something that should have remained buried deep below the surface. This was how the legend of the Gatekeepers returned to life. I first heard the story from an old journal I discovered in the attic of a dilapidated house at the edge of Hollow's Peak. The journal belonged to Dr. Elias Mercer, a 19th century archaeologist obsessed with ancient lore. His writings were detailed, filled with sketches of strange symbols and maps of locations no longer known to modern civilization. The most unnerving part was a recurring phrase written in bold letters throughout the journal. "The Watchers are returning." At first, I dismissed it as the ramblings of a madman, but the deeper I read, the more I realized there was something tangible in his words. He wrote about a group called the Gatekeepers, an ancient cult lost to time, who believed they could commune with entities beyond our world. The Gatekeepers believed the Earth was not a solid sphere but filled with hidden tunnels, forgotten passageways, and gateways that led to places beyond human comprehension. In these hidden portals, they claimed, existed beings known as the Watchers, ancient entities who had once ruled over humanity, waiting patiently for their return. The journal detailed rituals to open the portals, to awaken the Gatekeepers, and to summon the Watchers. And then I found it! The map! It was crude, hand-drawn, and weathered with age, but it was unmistakably a map of Hollow's Peak, the very mountain I was now living beneath. In Dr. Mercer's notes, he spoke of a vast network of tunnels that stretched deep into the earth beneath the mountain, tunnels that the Gatekeepers had used for their rituals. According to the journal, they had been waiting centuries for the right alignment of the stars, for the earth to quake in a way that would weaken the barriers between this world and the next. The alignment was tonight. I'm not sure why I decided to follow the map. Maybe it was curiosity, or maybe something far darker was pulling me. But I found myself standing at the base of Hollow's Peak, staring into the mouth of an ancient cave I had never seen before. The air was thick, damp, and unnaturally cold for the season. I felt the weight of something unseen pressing down on me as I ventured deeper inside. The deeper I went, the more the walls began to change. Symbols, like the ones I had seen in the journal, were carved into the stone. They spiraled and twisted, sometimes moving in ways that made my head throb if I stared at them too long. It was as though the rock itself was alive, breathing, whispering those same unintelligible words I had first read about. Then I saw it, the gate. It was a massive stone slab, far too large and heavy for anything human to have built. Etched into its surface were the symbols of the Gatekeepers. In front of the slab stood an altar, its surface stained with something dark that had long dried. I felt an overwhelming dread, but something compelled me to step closer, to place my hands on the altar as if it had been waiting for me all along. That's when I heard the voices. Low at first, like the rumble of distant thunder, but growing louder, clearer. They spoke in a language I couldn't understand, but the message was clear. They were coming. The Watchers. The Gatekeepers had done their part centuries ago, opening the portal and weakening the boundaries between worlds, but the final act was yet to be completed. It was my arrival that would usher in their return. I backed away, horrified, but it was too late. The ground beneath me began to shake violently, and the stone gate groaned as it started to move, splitting open with a deafening crack. From the depths of the earth, a bitter wind rushed out, carrying with it a foul stench of decay and sulfur. Shadows began to emerge, first faint and misty, but soon solidifying into grotesque forms, towering over me. They were the Watchers. Their eyes were hollow, glowing with a sickly yellow light. Their skin was stretched thin over skeletal frames, and their mouths were twisted into permanent snarls. They did not walk but glided, their movements unnatural, as though gravity meant nothing to them. The air around them seemed to warp, bending reality itself as they approached. I turned to flee, but the cave was closing behind me. The Watchers moved in silence, but their presence screamed in my mind, filling me with visions of death, ruin, and endless darkness. They had been trapped for millennia, waiting for the stars to align and the earth to shake, and now they had returned to reclaim what they believed was theirs, our world. As I stumbled toward the exit, I caught a glimpse of something even more terrifying. Figures, humanoid but twisted, were emerging from the walls themselves. They were the Gatekeepers, the ancient cult that had summoned the Watchers. Their bodies were desiccated, their eyes empty, yet they moved with purpose, surrounding me in a circle, chanting in that same guttural language. The Watchers were their gods, and I was their sacrifice. I don't remember how I escaped. My memory of that night is fragmented, flashes of light, the ground crumbling beneath my feet, and the shrieking of those inhuman voices. When I awoke, I was lying at the foot of the mountain, the entrance to the cave sealed once more, as though it had never been opened. I thought it was over. But as the days passed, the signs began to appear. People in the nearby towns started disappearing. At night, I could hear the whispers again, louder now, echoing through the wind that rustled the trees. And when I looked to the peak of the mountain, I could see them, the Watchers, standing there, their hollow eyes fixed on the town below. I realized then that the ritual was never meant to be completed in one night. It was an ongoing process, a slow awakening. The Gatekeepers had returned to finish what they had started, and the Watchers were growing stronger with each passing day. The portals were opening all over the world, hidden beneath the earth, in forgotten ruins and caves, waiting for the right moment to fully emerge. The journal was right. The Watchers were returning. And this time, there would be no stopping them. If you're reading this, heed my warning. Stay away from Hollow's Peak. Do not go near the mountain, and do not listen to the whispers. The Gatekeepers are still out there, preparing the way for the Watchers' final return. They have been waiting for centuries, and now the earth itself is calling to them. But it's not too late. If you find the journal, burn it. Destroy the map. Seal the portals before they can open fully. Because if the Watchers succeed in returning to our world, it won't just be Hollow's Peak that falls. It will be all of us. They are watching, waiting, and when the time comes, they will strike. Pray that you're not here when they do.